You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. There was a point just a couple of months ago where I really needed therapy, like major life stuff hitting from all sides. I was ready to do the work, but every therapist I called either wasn't taking new clients or didn't take my insurance, and I felt so totally stuck.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. I remember making this spreadsheet of therapists like a whole chart and still couldn't find someone that was affordable and available. I
Right.
just wanted to feel better, not build a database.
Exactly. That's why we are both really into what Rula is doing. That's Rula, Rula. They're a mental health care company making it so much easier to actually get therapy.
With Rula, you can get matched with a licensed therapist who takes your insurance so you're not paying hundreds of out-of-pocket dollars or stuck on a wait list. Most people pay around $15 per session.
I love that someone is making mental health care accessible.
Oh, me too. And it's not random. Rula matches you with a professional based on your preferences, your goals, and even your background. So you're way more likely to click with someone who actually gets you.
Appointments can be as soon as tomorrow. No ghosting, no hoops to jump through, just therapy that works with your life and your budget. So head to rula.com/queenspod to get started. That's RULA.com/queenspod.
And when they ask how you heard about Rula, tell them we sent you. Because your mental health should be taken care of with care.
Hi, this is Katie.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queen's Podcast, the show about women in history.
Nathan, I am really interested in what you're going to be telling us about today because
Yes.
he came up a couple of times in our Maria Theresa series, and he was also a player in our Catherine the Great series way back when. And I don't really know a lot about him. So, Nathan, who are you going to be spilling the tea on today?
We are spilling the tea on Frederick the Great.
Ooh. Tell me.
Yeah, he was basically Maria Theresa's arch nemesis, kind of a little BFF-y with Catherine the Great, but who was he? He was a war dick. The end.
The end. Okay,
We're
well,
finished.
catch y'all next time. Bye.
No, but for real, he was a very, very strong monarch that used his military to really establish his kingdom, hated by some, Maria Theresa,
Yes.
and an inspiration to others, which we'll get into later. I started this research off and I was like, oh, it's just going to be a war dick. And then I didn't realize how complicated and actually colorful his life is because, girl, he gay.
Yeah, that's kind of all I know about him is war dick and dick. That is kind of all
Bumping butts.
Bumping butts. He was a gay boy. And I know he's usually when rulers are called the Great, it is because they take a lot of territory. So like Alexander the Great, because he took over Egypt. Catherine the Great, she expanded into Poland and Crimea and stuff like that.
Frederick the Great was more of Germany unification. So Frederick was born on January 24th of 1712. So our boy is an Aquarius sun, Leo moon, Pisces rising.
How do you know his rising? Were you able to find out his birthday? Like his time of birth?
Time of birth even was documented.
Oh, shit. We
So-
don't get that often. Pisces
No.
rising. Hey.
Yeah, so Aquarius sun means he's creative, independent, intelligent, tracks. Leo moon, highly expressive personality, loves to be the center of attention and entertain others. That's that. And then Pisces rising, so very intuitive, wise, patient,
Dreamer.
and overly sensitive. No offense, Katie.
No offense taken because it's so true. Anyway.
All of this kind of tracks with him. And are we really surprised, though, Katie, that we actually know when a royal boy was born?
No, because he's a boy.
Yeah. So Frederick was born in Berlin as the oldest son of Frederick William I, making him the crown prince because Daddy-O is the king and became the king about a year or so before he actually gave birth to Frederick the Great. Yeah. So as king, his dad is a little bit new to the gig, but that doesn't mean he didn't know what he was doing.
Okay.
Frederick's dad was dubbed the Soldier King.
Oh, okay. So lots of war dicking in the family, it sounds like.
Yeah, they just like to wave their dicks around with, their giant army. And literally, his dad had a group called the Potsdam Giants. Yep. It was a group of military men that were taller than average soldiers so that they could intimidate the other sides with just their sheer height.
I mean, it's not a bad strategy.
No, it's like, look at all of our men. Do you really want to fight us? And it's like, no, maybe not.
Not really. Yeah, no, okay.
And Dad had centralized the government, built up the treasury, really streamlined the government process. So basically the opposite of what happened to Maria Theresa.
Yeah, where her dad didn't do shit. This guy's dad actually set him up for success.
Exactly.
Love it.
So instead of inheriting a government that was a shit show, the government in Prussia streamlined, effective, great military. Everything's running for him. Frederick's dad ruled a little bit with an iron fist, and this included how he treated his own son. So he was really strict on Frederick's education, and more specifically, he really wanted him to study military training. And Frederick the Great just wasn't into all that war dicking when he was younger. His passions were music, philosophy, art. Yeah. He actually was a really good flute player. He played the cello as well, and he really did great at those. But guess what? Flutes and cellos don't fight wars.
No.
They can make some really cool background music while you're fighting the wars, but not good, effective weapons.
Yeah. Yeah. So he just wants to go to art school. And his dad is like, no, military school.
Yep. Okay. Dad's forcing him to learn all the military drills, all the maneuvers, and they are frequently fighting about it. Like, I don't want to do this. His dad is like, tough, you're going to be the king. And honestly, Frederick the Great's mom kind of butted heads with his own dad, so kind of sided a little bit with Frederick the Great. His mom was the daughter of King George I of Britain.
Oh, okay.
So King George is charismatic. He's polite. He's level-headed. He's not too hot-headed. But Frederick's dad is the exact opposite. So his mom and his dad didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and they argued a lot. So it really wasn't like a super happy marriage, if you will.
I hate that.
Yeah, not great. Frederick lived with his mom and his sister Wilhelmina. So he's with his mom, his dad's not around, so he's sneaking in all those artsy books, all those philosophy books, trying to learn on the side. He really was into French culture, and I'm pretty sure mom probably saw him sneaking things in and just kind of turned a blind eye to it. Because at first she's like, oh my God, is that a Playboy? Oh no, it's just about French culture.
Okay.
And his dad would occasionally get word that he was studying these things like art and music, and
being a little pussy.
And that's exactly what he did. Like in court, he would say things like that to anybody that would listen, talking about how effeminate, how gay his son is, how much of a pussy he is, and he would literally beat Frederick if he was acting gay. So this is like a little bit of gay trauma coming in here, guys.
Also for them, what does acting gay necessarily mean? Does it just mean like liking music?
Yeah. And being I'm sure he was a little bit effeminate. Like there were little things that you could kind of tell, but still, that does not give you the right to beat your son. And is that going to make it better? No.
Absolutely not.
I hate it here.
I hate it here.
As with any dysfunctional family, you've got mom and dad who are kind of always at odds with each other. What I find a lot is that the siblings in those types of volatile parent relationships, the siblings tend to kind of like cling to each other.
Yeah.
And they kind of form a special bond
Trauma
with
bonding.
each other because, yeah, it's literally trauma bonding.
Yeah.
So Frederick and his sister are BFFs. Like, they are, blood is thicker than water, we know, but they are thick as thieves.
Okay.
Like, they love each other. They've got each other's back. They were both taught by the same woman who was a French Huguenot tutor. So this is important because that means he's Protestant.
Yeah.
He has a Protestant teacher. Clutch your pearls.
Protestant.
Yeah.
Like Maria Theresa needed another reason to hate him.
Yeah, but this is one of the reasons
Yeah.
why she didn't like him.
Yeah.
His dad was obviously okay with this. His dad was a Calvinist, so he was cool with it. So I could spend all day long talking about the differences between Calvinism and Catholicism and Protestantism, but that's boring, and that's a whole different podcast. Basically, the big difference between Calvinism and all of the other religions is that Calvinists don't believe in elected church officials.
Okay.
So they
I didn't know
basically
that. I
say,
didn't know.
yeah, they say God is the head of the church, and then underneath that, everybody's equal. Nobody's a mouthpiece. Nobody gets elected. So it's a very
So that very much goes against the hierarchy in even Protestant religions, because I mean, the Church of England, which would have been very well set up by this time, still had like, I don't know, deacons or whatever. And so instead it's like, no one is getting elected to be a representative. We're all on the equal playing field.
We're all representatives of God.
Okay.
Nobody is above anybody else.
You don't need to go through anybody else to talk to God.
Yes, exactly. And we know religion is always a major driving force in wars. But honestly, Frederick the Great just wasn't that into it.
Which is surprising.
He was a skeptic. He was a religious skeptic. At his core, he just really believed, he was like, why can't all these religions just get along? Like, we all believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, why don't we just get along? Like, it's like, come on. So I hate to say, but our little Freddie might have been a little bit of a hippie at first, right?
You know what?
Like,
I appreciate people that have strong faith, but I also really appreciate someone that puts critical thinking to what and figure out what they believe for themselves instead of just believing what they're told to believe.
exactly. So maybe he's just, because, okay, when we're teenagers, sometimes when your parent says one thing, you just want to say the other thing, the exact opposite, just to piss them off.
Oh yeah. I loved being like, I'm atheist when I was 17 at, Easter Sunday church. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's 16 years old. It's like in the pubescent code of conduct.
Yes.
Also written in this pubescent code of conduct is you've got lots of hormones, and you start falling in love with people.
Lust?
Yeah, that's more like it.
You're horny.
Yeah, aka getting a one-way ticket to Bone Town.
Yeah.
No hope of returning.
Bonerville.
So our little rebel ends up developing a little bit of a crush. But wait, there's more, because it's with his page, Peter Carl Christoph von Keith.
Okay, I see there's a link there. Okay, fancy man.
Yeah, okay, there's a thing that Frederick had his type.
Okay.
And it was definitely the pretty boy. He liked the pretty boy swag.
Pretty
for
boy
sure.
swagger. Pretty boy swagger. Okay.
So he
Okay.
develops this little bit of a relationship, and then his sister, who's his BFF, starts to pick up on it and is like, okay, this relationship that he has is a little unusual for a crown prince to have with a page.
Now,
who's
just
like,
real quick, because you said that they were thick as thieves and trauma bonded, I went ahead and looked up the family to be like, okay, were they the only siblings? No, there's a shitload of siblings, but these two, Wilhelmina and Frederick, seem to be like the closest in age of the surviving siblings. So were the two of them just like closer than they were with the rest of their siblings?
yes, I think two of the siblings that were closest to them had died early on. And so there was a big gap. And so it was basically just the older siblings and the younger siblings. They sat at the old table during Thanksgiving, the old people's
But there
table.
was like a divide, like there was a big enough gap. So these two, they had a chance to get to know each other, just the two of them, before the rest of the kids hit the scene is kind of what it seems like. Okay.
Exactly. And she's noticing that whenever he looks at this page, he has this little starry-eyed gaze. He's getting googly-eyed over this little boy. And we don't have any records of if Frederick and Von Keith actually went to Bonetown, but it was hella flirtatious. It was very almost out in the open for anybody to see. So I assume there had to have been some sort of homoerotic thing going on there. Whether or not they physically had sex or not, that's up for debate. But
sister noticed, like, hey,
it's more than just friends.
Okay. Got it. So this is the first, if not love, this is the first love interest.
Yes, and regardless of whether we think he boned or not, or who cares? It was just a relationship that was deemed to be a little too close for a crown prince to have.
How old was he at this point? Like
16.
16. Okay. I mean, that's about that's the normal age to start really getting interested in your sex life. Yeah.
A lot of people started to notice Von Keith and his relationship being a little too close. And by that, I mean Frederick's dad. So the king gets wind of this relationship and immediately sends the page Von Keith away. He ends up banishing him to a troop that apparently was like this really awful army troop that nobody paid attention to. So basically just banished him to the crappiest military base that he could on purpose.
That's sad. Just to punish Frederick for liking him.
Yep. And okay, I think we've talked about this before too. That whenever a parent, again, tells you, don't do this, I'm not going to let you do this, don't have a relationship with boys, is that gonna stop it?
No.
No, he's a horny teenager. Like, he's finally discovering, oh my gosh, I don't like women, I like men, this is different, this is weird. So he gets another boy. He finds another boy, of course. Like, and literally this boy is like this new guy. His name is Hans Hermann von Kott.
Okay, it's another pretty boy.
Okay. And at this point, Frederick would have been around 17 to 18. And Von Kott would have been anywhere from 25 to 26.
Okay.
So little icky. But we've seen a lot worse.
Certainly have.
Yeah, this isn't great, but he's 17, 18. And this was the misogyny just reeked here. And the kind of homophobia was like, whenever I was doing the research, all the research was like, Frederick the Great was several years younger than Von Kott. He was so much younger than Von Kott. And I'm like, how many women were married at 14 to 56-year-old men and we didn't say anything
and it's
about
like
that?
And it's just like, and he was older than her dad anyway, and that's like and then it's just never touched on again because
bag of dicks.
Yeah cool.
Yeah, it's icky. I'm not saying that this relationship, I condone that.
Yeah,
but it's just ironic how you see two men's relationships. Oh, he was so much younger, and it's like, but this was normal.
Absolutely.
But Frederick kind of already knows what's going to happen if his dad finds out, right? Like, if his dad finds out about this relationship, he's going to send his lover away. And poor baby Freddie was in love again. And this time, he hatches a plan to escape. So he...
Escape being crown prince?
Yeah. Okay. Runaway train never coming back. Literally.
Getting away from my dickhead dad.
Yeah.
You like that?
That was perfect. Because, I mean, this kind of speaks to gay culture prior to 2010, where if your family and your parents found out you were gay, they would just disown you and tell you to get the hell out. And at that point, you have to run away.
Yeah, I've also read things about back then, and I think different cultures, it's going to be so nuanced, but it was kind of like they didn't believe in gay and straight. It was more like, you have this tendency that you need to cut out. They didn't understand that, like, no, some people, you're going to put the most beautiful woman in front of them and they're never, like, it was kind of almost more like a mindset of they just haven't found a woman that does it for them yet. And not so much understanding of he's never going to.
Yeah. You could put, like you said, the most beautiful woman in the world, and it's still gonna be like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
Like, it has no idea. But like at 17, 18, you're feeling like I have to leave. And we've talked about having to pack up and leave your own town and move somewhere else back in the day. Had to have been fucking frightening, like, to say the least. But as a teenager willing to risk your life, the crown, all of your inheritance just to be with the man you love, that's tough. That's a crazy thing to do.
It's gonna take some balls. It's gonna take some big clit energy on his part, for sure. And also, if you are the son of the king could be like, search party, bring that motherfucker back to me. And he's got all the resources in the world to find you.
Almost literally all the resources in the world. Because he could sick all of the other governments to try to find his son. And,
and his army of giants.
Yeah. His army of giants. That's always going to do it. So one night, Frederick puts on his red cloak, kind of giving me a little bit of Handmaid's Tale vibes, being a little bit of a...
Making a fashion statement. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Leo Moon, we see you.
Yeah, exactly. But this was to make him look more like a commoner. And he wore this red cloak so that, Von Kott would know who to look for. It would be like, oh, red cloak, that's my boyfriend. That's who I'm going to go pick up and run away with. So the carriage arrives. And two of Frederick's quote-unquote keepers, a.k.a. like palace guards, who are ordered to follow him around, find him running out of the castle and are like, hey, why are you dressed in this red cloak? You need to put your uniform back on. And then Frederick's like, hell no.
Gotta go.
And he gets ready to jump onto the horse to run away, but the men grab him, pull him down, and drag him back into the palace. Kicking and screaming.
Drama.
Literally kicking and screaming the whole way. He's like, I don't want to go. I want to leave. And he's like freaking out. He's pleading his innocence. It was too late, though, because at this point, they had actually found some letters between him and his inner clique of friends, kind of discussing this plan of how he was going to run away.
So they found the letters before they saw him trying to escape, so...
They kind of knew what was coming.
Burn after reading, Freddie.
I know. So, guess who finds out about his running away attempt?
Dad.
Dear old dickhead dad. Frederick is obviously, I wouldn't say arrested at this point, but he kind of is. Yeah. He's then forced to go meet with his father, and I can imagine he's like freaking the hell out. Yeah, the entire time. And when Frederick's dad sees him, he immediately starts beating him.
Just let me hear your side of the story. Just like immediately goes into violence.
Yep, which makes me think, obviously, he knows his son is gay. And so why would you... He's not asking him why he did this. He knows why he did this. It's because he's gay. So he starts beating him, and it's so bad that the soldiers literally have to pull the dad off. They have to pull the king off of him and be like, stop beating your son.
You're gonna kill your heir. Like, come on.
Oh, it makes me so fucking sad.
So sad.
And then... couple of days later, they have another confrontation. So let's do a little bit of Queen's podcast theater.
Yes.
Would
you like me to be the king? Okay. Yes. Okay.
So Katie is going to play the king, and I will be young gay Frederick. Typecasting.
Why did you want to escape?
Because you treated me not like your son, but like a mean slave.
You are nothing but a cowardly deserter who has no honor.
I have as much honor as you. and I have not done anything that you would not have done in my place. The king then draws his sword, goes to stab his own son, before a commander jumps in between them, yelling at the king, "Stab me instead, stab me instead."
Drama!
Like literally, he's like, you would have done the same thing if you were in my shoes. And the dad is like, pulls his sword out to stab his own son. Oh gosh, scary.
I would watch this miniseries. This is drama.
I don't know why this has not been a miniseries, because honestly, it would be wonderful, because you could have the whole discussion of homophobia and royalty and all of that. Just, dramatic story.
You know what doesn't belong in your hot girl summer plans? Getting scorched by your wireless bill. I am trying to get burnt by the sun, not my cell phone provider. So I made the switch to Mint Mobile, and let me tell you, the only thing hotter than the temps is this deal. For a limited time, you can get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless just for $15 a month. Yup, you heard me right. Mint gives you the same coverage and speed you're used to on the nation's largest 5G network, but for a fraction of the price. You can bring your own phone, keep your number, and start saying bye-bye to jaw-dropping bills and data overages that make you want to cry in the CVS parking lot. I've switched, and I love it. And honestly, you should too. So skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Go to mintmobile.com/queens to get your 3 months unlimited plan for just $15 a month. That's mintmobile.com/queens. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time, new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 GB on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
You know that feeling when summer hits and suddenly your closet just isn't cutting it anymore? Yeah, I got hit hard with that this year. But instead of impulse buying stuff I'll wear twice and regret and it'll just collect dust in the back of my closet, I turned to Quince. And honestly, it just clicked. Quince makes timeless, elevated pieces that feel luxury, but without that luxury markup. Like, I picked up the 100% European linen camp shirt, and y'all, I am obsessed. It's lightweight, it's breathable. I can pack it and bring it to the beach. I can wear it to brunch or to the farmer's market. I even wear it doing laundry and pretending I'm in a Nancy Meyers movie, and it was under $50. They've also got washable silk dresses, soft cotton sweaters, and linen tops starting at just $30. All made with premium fabrics, all from ethical factories, and all about half the price of similar brands. I wear Quince, and you really should too. Give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/queenspod for free shipping and 365 days return. That's QUINCE.com/queenspod. Quince.com/queenspod. Cheers, y'all. And also, this isn't even the first gay prince we've talked about. I feel like if his dad just let him have a boyfriend and was just like, hey, dude, keep that shit on the DL. How much more harmonious? Like, you're still probably going to have to marry your lady one day, but just have your boyfriend, just don't flash him around. How much more? I mean, obviously, that's not something I agree with for modern day, but back then. And because there had to be other princes, even that we've talked about, they had some kind of agreement with.
They had a favorite, and that favorite was their lover, but the parent in charge was usually like, okay, you can have your whatever on the side. Just make sure that you have an heir, you have a wife, and then I don't care what you do in your free time.
Why isn't Daddy Dickhead just being like, he may have even thought, like we were saying, some people think it's like a phase. He may even be thinking he's just going through it. Let him get it out of his system. Let him sow his wild oats. It makes me wonder, hey, Daddy doth protest too much. What does Dad want to do that he can't be doing?
That's what I was. It's homophobia is what it is, and usually
why so strongly homophobic?
That's because they're homosexual themselves.
Urges that they feel ashamed about, and now seeing it in their offspring makes
Yeah,
it
they
harder
had
for
to
them
hide
to
it.
ignore. Yeah.
They had to hide it their entire lives, so they kind of get angry whenever their child is able to do that, and they're like, no, but I couldn't do that, so you can't do it either.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that vibe. And if things hadn't gotten bad enough, they're about to get worse.
Oh no.
The king charges both his son and his lover with treason, which is punishable by death, obviously.
Oh yes. How is it running away? Like being a deserter or something? Was that treason?
I think that was the line of thought, but it was just, let's charge them with the most heinous thing honestly, in my opinion, to intimidate Frederick the Great. To basically say, we can have you killed because we want to. And
to let him know how powerless he actually is.
That's exactly what it was, because
so
they held this whole sham of a trial, and Frederick's lover held out the entire time, denied there was a relationship, just basically said, the crown prince told me he wanted to go away, so I did what the crown prince told me to do, and I followed his orders, but didn't stop both of them from being thrown into jail.
Oh.
So the official ruling was that both were found guilty. As for punishment, it was determined that Frederick's dad, the king, would figure out what appropriate punishment he could pass down on his son, while his son's lover, poor von Katt, was going to be executed by beheading. So a little bit of nepotism, but not the good kind of nepotism.
No.
You just get to keep your life.
But live with the guilt that the person you love is dead because you loved them.
Yep. So the king ended up deciding, okay, lover's going to get executed, and the best punishment for Frederick the Great, what can we do? Oh, I know. Let's force him to watch his lover get executed.
That is next level.
Yeah. So poor baby Frederick was ordered to watch von Katt get beheaded in front of him. He watched the entire thing but passed out before the final fatal blow. And if we know anything about beheadings, there's not just one fatal blow to them usually. It's a very bloody, terrible thing.
Especially if it's like with the axe. Like Anne Boleyn got it lucky with the French swordsman. It sounds like this was not a skilled French swordman doing
not the same thing. So again, another layer of this gay trauma of like, I have to, like you said, live with this guilt of
he's dead because I loved him.
Yeah, he's dead because I loved him and I wanted to run away with him. Oh my gosh.
That is horrible.
The king ends up stripping Frederick of all of his military ranks and then forces him basically into this really strict school that's more or less like a boarding school, but a military boarding school.
Yeah.
So he would learn, or Frederick would learn, how to run the government, how to do military drills, basically doing all the things that dad wanted him to do and was trying to force him to do. Now he was in a school where he was going to be forced to do that. So it's giving me like almost this Stockholm syndrome type of thing where your captor is your enemy, your dad is your enemy, but you end up going along with it.
I mean, you just eventually just kind of like submit because what's the point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after a year at this school, eventually the king goes and visits Frederick. And because Freddie's sister was actually going to go get married, and that's his BFF. So he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for her. And so in that relationship that he had with his sister getting married, father and son started to kind of mend their relationship a little bit. So the tensions kind of eased up. But again, for me, it's not because he wanted these tensions to ease up. It was more, like I said, that Stockholm syndrome where he was traumatized into this situation. Either way.
He just knows if I don't keep peace with my dad, things are going to be worse for me.
Exactly. He's going to be forced into submission. He's going to have to do what his dad says. So he gets released from this school, goes back to Berlin, but under one condition, and that is that he marries a woman named Elizabeth Christine. Yeah. Boo.
I'm sure she's
Again,
nice and all, but boo.
why couldn't he just have a favorite and a wife? I don't get it. But Elizabeth Christine was a Protestant relative, Austrian Habsburg descent, perfect match. That's what they're looking for. They need to unite this dynasty. But obviously, gay old Frederick doesn't want this marriage. He's like, no.
Obviously.
He's not happy about it. He literally wrote to his sister saying, quote, "We're never going to love each other. It's never going to work."
Yeah.
Like basically just flat out saying, this isn't going to work. I don't love her. She doesn't love me. I'm not going to do this.
She's not my type.
He also even threatens to unalive himself at that point in the letter. It's just like so much gay trauma. I feel for this guy so much because he feels trapped.
Yeah.
He can't run away from this homophobic society. This is what it is. This is what he has to deal with. So that wedding goes forward. The two are married. At this time, he would have been 21.
Okay, so he's still pretty young.
Yeah, and she would have been 14.
Ew.
Again, I love how they're not like, he was so much older.
I know,
than
it was
she
just
was.
like, which was totally normal.
Yeah, like, okay, Barbara.
And so she's from the Holy Roman Empire, is that what you said? So
She's related to the Habsburg Austrian dynasty,
and
yes.
so it's like right there. It's not like a moving to like a far, far away land, because Prussia and the Holy Roman Empire are like right by each other, or parts.
Yeah,
Austria is close. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The two, surprise, surprise, never had any children.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. They didn't share anything in common. By all accounts, this was not a happy marriage, at least on his end. I think she was devoted to him, and she really tried to make it work. She was there for him at public events. She was this loyal wife, very active in his social life, but that was it. She was the wife just in name alone, not
And
in...
that's so sad because, I mean, I don't know anything about this woman, but probably no one told her, hey, he's gay. We don't know what kind of sex education these girls got, if any. So she's just probably thinking, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, because he's not affectionate with her in any sort of way because he's gay.
Yeah.
Like, that's obvious.
And he doesn't
just
know
chemistry in general.
He's going to have resentment against her, and he's not processing it right to be like, I should still be nice to her because it's not her fault. She's 14. It's not her fucking fault that she just happens to be. These people all need therapy.
I freaking know. So I'm not going to talk about Elizabeth Christine too much more. I'll just basically say that, spoiler alert, Frederick the Great becomes king.
Yes.
Eventually in this story. But when he does become king, he basically just splits from Elizabeth altogether.
He's
They
like,
don't
I don't
even
have
live
to
in the
anymore.
same...
I don't have to anymore.
Yeah,
so get
they
the
don't
fuck
live
out
in
of
the
here.
same palace. The only time that he goes to visit her is maybe like on her birthday or like a state occasion, and that's it. Like, he doesn't see
live
her
separate
outside
lives.
of that. Yep, very, very separate lives. And the father and son, their relationship is better at this point-ish. The bar's in hell.
The bar is literally subterranean. But
Yeah, you had his lover beheaded in
front of him.
So,
But now they're at least civil to each other.
yes, and Frederick gets his military ranks back. He gets reinstated into the army in 1732, continues his wartime strategy studies and studying under really good generals and sometimes not so good generals, but he's learning, and this is his Aquarius son, if you will, very intelligent, very creative, where even if there's a general who's doing things wrong, he still learns from that. So he's learning from the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. Mm-hmm. So he's very, very intelligent, which is a mark of a good leader.
Yeah.
Is like, even if you lose a battle, why did you lose that battle? What went wrong?
What can
could
you
have done
learn
better?
from this situation?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's good that Freddie is starting to learn how to be a good leader, because Dad gets gout because he's old as fuck. And they're in their reconciliation era.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to smooth things over. Dad's trying to make everything okay with his son now. Because, I mean, yeah, it's nice, but again, you had his lover beheaded.
You
so...
still did some permanent damage to your son.
Yeah, but he's trying. He's trying. His dad invited him to Rheinsberg, and Lil Freddie travels on over, and much to his surprise, it's actually kind of chill there. His dad's like, you know what? Go do what you want. Go study what you want. Go hang out with who you want. Do it. Okay. Go ahead. So Freddie's like, oh my God, this is like the first time ever. Oh, so he gets like this group of musicians and artists and actors around. He's writing plays. He's acting in plays. Like, he is having a good gay old time.
Oh, I mean, sounds fun to me.
Yeah. And also, I feel like this is just as a product of good parenting, letting your child do what they liked. Freddie would, in return, compromise with his dad and do more wartime studies and do more military drills and maneuvers. So it was this balancing of like, oh, I finally get to do what I like to do and what I don't like to do, but I need to learn how to do.
Right.
So it was this like, Freddie would look back at this time and basically say this was the happiest moment in his life.
Oh.
Because he's studying arts, he's studying philosophy, but that all came to a close when his father died in 1740. At this point, Frederick's like, shit, I'm the king now. Damn it.
Is that the year that Maria Theresa's dad died too?
I
think so. Let me Google it real quick. Yeah, her dad died in October 1740.
Huh. I had no idea that it was...
So they hit the stage. They became rulers or got their inheritance the same time. So it was sort of like they had shit to prove, and they're such equal contemporaries. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that close either, because his dad died in May and then she died in August. So that's literally only like 3 months apart from each other. So there's a quote from Freddie about his father, which kind of sums up their relationship. It said, "What a terrible man he was, but he was just, intelligent, and skilled in the management of affairs. It was through his efforts that I have been able to accomplish everything that I have since day one."
Okay, so there's layers there.
Yeah, it's like, he's an asshole, but he knew what he was doing, and I owe everything to him. So it's kind of a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, a bit.
Get your mother-loving ears on, because your big-time radio DJ's got news. PayPal lets you pay for stuff in-store, online, or over time. Now that's a tune. You can pay your own way. Don't just pay, baby. PayPal.
Learn more at PayPal.com.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable kernels of grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide, visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
So Freddie would have been about 28 when he ascended the throne. And like I said, that Prussian army was huge. The military was, the government was really functioning at a high pace. In fact, the army was the 4th largest army in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Is big considering you've got the UK, you've got France, you've got, these big armies, and it's number 4. So it's right there.
Yeah. You got Russia.
That was the other one, yes. And guess who wasn't on that list? Austria.
For reasons we have covered, because it was,
yes.
How do you say, a clusterfuck?
Yeah. So Prussia's really well organized, except their territories and how it's broken up is a little scattered and kind of all over the place. So at this point, Frederick's like, well, if I can't get dick, might as well be a war dick.
Can't get dick? Let me get some land. Let me prove myself. Yes. Let me find something to be fulfilled on that, like, people aren't going to cut off my friends' heads for.
Exactly. So it's time for a little combat. And, we don't like spending half an episode talking about who fought who and why fought why, because that shit gets boring.
Yes.
Why fought why. Yes. So we'll just tell you the who and the why of it all and skim as much as I can.
Got it.
Frederick has one country that is always getting in his way, and we talked about that in our Maria Theresa episode, and that's because it's Austria.
Yes.
The war that he first was involved in was the War of Austrian Succession, and can we guess why they fought that war?
But he had no claim to any of the lands, but he was like, I think I should be succeeding here.
So the Habsburg dynasty is kind of on its way out the door. And there's this document floating around called the Pragmatic Solution, which we talked about in our Maria Theresa episode, that basically said that she would inherit the Habsburg dynasty. And Frederick was not about that jam. He wanted them lands, honey. He wanted to prove himself. Yeah, but uterus, you can't do this.
Yeah.
So, super long story short, Frederick sends troops and captures Silesia, which is a large province in the southeast of Poland. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, he wins. Maria Theresa's pissed. She sends troops to try to capture it back, but her army was outnumbered. Her army actually outnumbered his army in this invasion, but he had strategy. He knew what to do during the battle to be able to pin down her forces, basically cornering them, and ended up defeating her much larger army.
So in this case, size didn't matter. It was more about... I'm trying to think of a euphemism here.
Size doesn't matter. It's how you move it.
Yeah.
It's how you move that ocean. What?
It's all about, it's the motion. It's not the size of the boat. It's the motion in the ocean. I think is what you were trying to go with. But we're talking about Army, not Navy. So.
Damn it. It's not the size of the tank. Oh, they don't have tanks then.
No.
Fine. We'll move on.
Anyway.
So after he defeats Maria Theresa's army, the whole of Europe is like, damn, boy.
Okay. Who's this new kid on the block?
Exactly. Like, he just ascended the throne and he's already, defeating other countries. This is pretty big. So,
and he's just down there being like, Papa, can you see me?
That is exactly Yentl. So there were several attempts from Austria to try to take back these lands, but they were continually blocked by Frederick. So much so that Austria was finally just like, okay, you can have those lands. We don't want them anymore. And this is where he earned the name The Great. Mm-hmm. Because we talked about that. The Great usually means you take lands. You
expand your territory.
Exactly. So he got that name from just this very first battle he was in. He already earned the title of The Great.
Rookie luck.
Yeah, rookie luck. Mm-hmm. So we have to tell you, and I don't like this because it's wartime strategies, but we have to tell you why he's a battlefield boss bitch.
Okay.
So Katie, have you seen Game of Thrones?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that the little indie show?
Yeah.
On HBO?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Max. The little indie show, low budget. Oh yeah. Cute. It's cute.
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones, but no dragons. So imagine this, where you're on the battlefield and there's this big line of men, and it's like, it's a wall of men, and it's like 5 men deep. So it's 5 men wide. So it's this line of men, 5 men wide. Traditional armies would just have it evenly layered like that all the way across. Well, Frederick was like, I'm going to put 100 men on one side, 5 men on the other, so that the 100 men can break through the wall of the enemy, basically all the enemy's men, and then come up from behind and kill the other remaining men. Because
the old reach around.
Yeah, and a gay man loves coming from behind. Couldn't resist that one, could I? Nope. So what I'm getting at is there's lots of strategery going on here.
Yes.
Like I said, all these countries are watching. France, Russia, Austria, UK, even Bohemia.
Navi Bohem.
Yeah, both gonna sing Rent to
Yes,
that.
yes.
So there's a storm a brewing in Europe, and it's gonna be like, I don't know, like 7 days, or 7 years, because it's called the 7 Years War, y'all.
They're just not always creative with names of wars.
No.
No.
So let me give a brief story about the 7 Years War. It lasted 7 years. The end.
Ta-da!
No, technically it didn't last 7 years. It lasted almost 7 years.
But the almost 7 years war isn't as catchy.
No, it's not quite as catchy. The almost 7 years war. But basically, Maria Theresa once again is trying to get her lands back. So she starts getting buddy-buddy with France and Russia. And Frederick is like, oh shit, France and Russia have really big armies. I need to side with somebody else.
Right.
So he strikes a deal with the UK. He's like, hey, UK, I'll protect you guys against the French if you protect me against Maria Theresa and her new entourage.
Right.
So he ends up sacking Saxony. Say
that 5 times fast.
That has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
But this battle that he had actually started and triggered the 7 Years War. So.
Oops.
Whoops. I started the whole thing. So long story short, 7 Years War ends after almost 7 years when Catherine the Great's husband ascended the throne, because he was very pro
Tomato.
Prussia.
Yeah.
Like, him and Catherine were very pro-Prussia. So they kind of just called the whole thing off. Tomato. 7 years, 6.75 years. Let's just call the whole thing off. Yeah. Fun side fact that I didn't know where else to put.
I love those where it's like, just plop it here.
Yeah. One of Frederick's generals that studied under him ended up helping out the American forces during the Revolutionary War, and basically retrains the American armies in that. And what ends up happening is a lot of historians say that that's why the Americans were able to defeat the British, is because they received military training that they didn't have.
From oppression.
Yeah, and especially like professional Prussian military.
Yeah.
They didn't have that sort of learning. So when they learned it, they started to defeat the Brits. So it was like, you can thank a gay man for freeing America. You heard it here first.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
So
slay America.
Exactly. So Frederick was able to basically break Poland apart, maintain control. This was it's called the first partition of Poland. It was actually no war was done here. He essentially just, through diplomacy, was able to acquire parts of Poland. So he wasn't just good at wartime strategies, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
He was actually pretty damn good at diplomacy as well.
Yeah. I remember during the Catherine the Great episode that Poland didn't get a whole lot of autonomy.
No, it was just like, yeah, we'll just break it up into pieces and let everybody have
and we get some. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're almost done with the war dicking, I promise.
Okay.
This is the last one.
All right.
It's called the War of Bavarian Succession.
He just loves a good succession crisis, doesn't he?
No, that is his thing.
Oh my goodness.
So Austria and Prussia are at it again. Like, they just keep going at it.
They should fuck already. Seriously.
They should just get it out of your system.
Yeah.
Frederick is trying to unify Germany and didn't want Maria Theresa and her little minions running the show. So, uterus, something about that uterus just sucking the blood out of her brain. She just doesn't know what she's doing. But Austria didn't get very lucky this time around, because last time, during the 7 Years' War, she got to align with Russia. This time, it's Catherine the Great's country. And Catherine the Great, she likes Prussia.
Yeah.
She don't like you, Austria. She's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So Russia and Austria, who were allies, are now no longer allies. Shit goes sideways. France tries to help Austria in this, but France, meanwhile, is trying to help the American Revolutionary War and has sent French troops over to America. So France is spread a little thin.
I mean, their own revolution comes soon because they spread themselves too thin, and now let them make cake.
Here we are.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So basically, after all this, Frederick was able to unify Germany by earning the support of a bunch of like local princes of German territories. So he got their support for protecting them from Austria. So they all kind of threw their support behind him. And he was able to unify Germany, which, yay, we're done with the war decade.
But this is why he's called the Great.
Yes, because he was able to not only diplomatically gain lands, minimal bloodshed, like besides the 7 Years' War.
Yeah.
But minimal bloodshed in these other wars that he had. But there's one thing that our boy Freddie knows how to do. Let's talk about some of his other accomplishments.
Okay.
Shall we?
We shall.
He actually is very good about setting up a bureaucracy within his government.
Oh.
So he was the model for 19th century government bureaucracies. So you could thank him for a lot of his ideals because he established laws for religious and social freedoms.
Nice.
Basically saying, don't care what religion you are, doesn't matter. You do you, boo, just don't hurt anybody else.
Yeah.
He helped inspire that concept of liberty.
Right.
That we used to found our Declaration of Independence and
Yes.
Constitution. So we can thank him for a little bit of that.
Okay. So he was of the Enlightenment movement type thinking.
Yes, very heavy into the Enlightenment movement. Freddie was actually good with agriculture as well. He told one of his BFFs, Voltaire.
Maybe
no big
you've
deal.
heard of him.
Yeah, no big deal. My best friend, Voltaire.
Yeah.
He basically told Voltaire, and there's a quote on it, but I'm summarizing it. He was like, hey, if you improve your lands and cultivate the lands and grow crops on the lands, you go from being a barbaric type of country to a country that can rule by conquests. So essentially saying if you feed your soldiers and your people and keep them well fed, they will continue to support you, which seems like it makes a lot of sense to us nowadays, but back then that wasn't.
What? Peasants need food? Are you sure about that?
Exactly.
Sure about that?
One thing that you'll love, Katie, is he had a special love for animals.
Oh.
He founded the first veterinary school in Prussia. Yeah, he also criticized hunting as cruel and uneducated. So he thought people that hunted were very cruel and stupid.
Okay.
He also refused to wear spurs while he was riding a horse.
Because he doesn't want to hurt his friend.
Yep, he said he literally is quoted saying, "Try sticking a fork into your naked stomach and you'll soon see why you don't like it."
Yeah.
Basically just like do unto others as you should have them do unto you, but he's doing it with animals, which is so nice. Yeah, he's our little hippie boy. He's back.
He's back.
He's back. Freddie, in tune with his hippiness, he loved music. It was one of the things that I read and I stumbled across multiple times in this research is people were like, he had just as many musical accomplishments as he did wartime accomplishments. Just nobody cares about the musical accomplishments.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's art.
Yeah.
But he composed 121 sonatas for the flute.
Oh, wow.
He composed 4 concertos, 4 symphonies, 3 military marches, wrote operas with people, collaborated in writing operas. He saw the opera, and for him, the opera was the supreme art of the Enlightenment era. It preached all of the it teached all of the philosophical things that the Enlightened period
and that
wanted.
he thought were important.
Yep. So he really threw lots of his support behind music specifically, which I love.
I love too.
He also helped support some major composers like Johann Sebastian Bach.
Pretty well known. Another one of those little indie underground composers.
Yeah, never heard of him. He also was really into architecture. He liked painting, doing sculptures, so very, very artsy-fartsy. His reign lasted 46 years.
Oh, wow.
So back in the day, that was pretty damn long.
Yeah.
Because most people just lived to be 46 years old. But it was very successful. They did note in my research that kind of after all the wars happened, and he kind of started to withdraw a lot. Removed
tired.
himself. Yeah, he's tired. He's removed himself from social settings. People don't see him that much. He's just kind of living this lonely life.
Or he's at home with his boyfriends.
Well, that was the thing, is that they said like he had a close circle of friends, but when those friends started dying out, he never replaced them with new friends. So it was like, as his old boyfriends or close bosom buddies started dying off, he just never replaced them. So it just increasingly got more and more, what's the word I'm looking? Isolated. Yeah, he got more and more isolated. So instead of like wanting to go out in public, he would rather sit at home with the dogs, which...
Relatable.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Another fun fact. He had a dog that he called the Marquises de Pompadour.
After Madame de Pompadour?
After Madame de Pompadour.
That doesn't feel like it's like in honor of. It feels
no,
like
it was a jab. It was a jab at Madame de Pompadour. But he loved this dog, so let's give it that.
At least he treated the dog good, so.
Yeah. I mean, he's at this point, he's in his 60s, early 70s. He's still getting up at dawn, drinking like 6 cups of coffee, taking care of government business. He's a workhorse. He's still like... in his 70s, he's still working his ass off. But eventually, all of that kind of gives out. Because on August 17th of 1786, our poor little Freddie ends up dying in his armchair at age 74.
Wow.
So his dying wish was to be buried with his greyhounds. Oh. One of them was Marquise de Pompadour. But his successor, the one that inherited the crown after him, buried him next to his father.
Oh, Jesus. If he didn't have any sons, who
it was another relative. I can't remember exactly who it was. I did read it in my research, but I was like, nah, who cares?
Let me see. I have the internet. Let's see. His successor, Frederick William II. Okay. Maybe like a nephew or something. Anyway.
Yeah, but he ends up being buried next to his father, which probably
was
not
the last thing he wanted.
Yeah. He's like, just let this man rest in peace alongside his doggos, okay?
Yeah.
Just let him. But Freddie's accomplishments were pretty much from this point on idealized across the globe as, wow, what an amazing leader. From people like George Washington,
oh, wow.
being like, oh my gosh, how great is he? To some not so great people like Napoleon and Hitler.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, he was awesome. Because if you think of it from the Hitler standpoint, he unified Germany.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where that was. But seriously, though, Hitler was obsessed with Frederick. Literally.
So did he just gloss over the gay shit? Or was that not taught until, like, did they hide that? Because Hitler's whole
probably
thing,
hidden.
like...
Probably hidden. They probably didn't mention it. Again, I think it's this idealized, like, look at how amazing a leader he is. Don't mind the fact that he was gay. See all these great things that he did. And that's kind of what happened.
Because I know, like, with the Nazis, it seems that gay runs in family. You know, so it's, like, tends to be genetic. And so if it's anything that's genetic and not perfect, the Nazi ideal was to, like, weed it out. So he must have... Hitler either didn't know about Frederick the Great or just decided to that was all hearsay, you know, just kind of deny it.
Yeah He was so obsessed, Hitler was, with Frederick, that during World War II he dug up his coffin and set it in a salt mine so that it wouldn't get damaged and destroyed in the war. Never mind all the other historical relics that were destroyed by Hitler that were amazing. He wanted to keep his dead body. Weird. Very
weird. I didn't know that. Hitler is a weird little fella.
Weird little fella.
Weird little guy.
Yeah. After, obviously, we know how World War II ended, thankfully.
Yeah.
The U.S. ended up relocating the body to like a small university town, and it stayed in that university town.
In Germany?
In Germany until 1991.
Why did they move it again? Like, why is it? Why can't
They
you just
moved it-
stay put?
So I think there was a push to actually bury Frederick the Great the way that he wanted to be buried.
With his dogs?
Yes. So that's exactly what happened. On August 17th of 1991, they returned Frederick's body back to where he originally wanted to be buried. No scene. Nobody made a big scene. There wasn't like this big pomp and circumstance because that's not what Freddie wanted.
Right.
He just wanted to have his body laid to rest in the crypt that he had built right next to his puppy dogs.
Okay, so I didn't know. So there was already a fancy place that his dogs were buried.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a little. Okay. I was just like, how are they going to find these dogs? But they knew where the dogs were. Okay.
Yeah, he had built a crypt right next to the dogs, and he was like, I want to be buried here. And they were like, no, let's bury you next to your abusive father.
God, that's going to be me, though. I'm going to build a crypt for my dogs. Wow.
But it said, even to this day, people will go still visit his grave, and they'll actually leave potatoes.
Potatoes.
Yeah, because Freddie was actually responsible for pushing out this propaganda to make people in Prussia grow and eat potatoes.
Oh, I mean, it's
So
pretty
he-
durable, and it
Yeah.
probably. Oh yeah, and he was like, "Hey, peasants need food." Okay, yeah, that makes sense now.
Yep.
The revolutionary idea that everybody needs food.
And now I'm craving a baked potato, so I think that's where we're going to leave it.
That sounds great. Let's go to Jason's Deli. You get a loaded baked potato. Sounds great.
The plain Jane is where it's at.
Yes. Well, this was a really interesting story. I knew so little about him, and what a multi-faceted, layered person. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for teaching us, Nathan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that when you first dive into something thinking this person's going to be this horrible war dick, and then you find out, wait, it was actually kind of the opposite. He was forced to be a war dick.
Yeah.
So,
He just happened to be good at it once he started doing it. But
truth. But hey, love him or hate him, you still got to cheers to him. So
yes,
cheers, bitches.
Let's raise a glass. Thank you so much, Nathan. And Patreon supporters, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Have you ever wondered how inbred the Habsburgs really were? What women in the past used for birth control? Or what Queen Victoria's 9 children got up to? On the History Tea Time podcast, I profile remarkable queens and LGBTQ+ royals, explore royal family trees, and delve into women's medical history and other fascinating topics. Join me every Tuesday for History Tea Time, wherever fine podcasts are enjoyed.